Okay, we should be live now. So just waiting for last confirmation from Lukash. Laura, Keighley, Jenna, if you could just say something so that we can make sure that we've got audio from both.
Say something.
Don, Matteo. Say something.
I sound
That's
good,
okay.
Great.
Oh, well, as long as you sound good, that's all right then.
You're the important ones here. Okay, Lukash can hear everyone, so good. So we're ready.
We can't hear him though.
Yes, he's busy this evening editing a video and uploading, from what I can see from our YouTube dashboard. He's working on some Chinese phones. So what we'll do is just quickly, I'll do a quick introduction. We're all sipping our drinks. Any subjects you would like avoided apart from politics and religion?
No.
Good. Okay, so we're good to go then. So I'll just do a quick intro and then introduce you one by one, and then we'll just let it flow from there.
Awesome.
So, good evening, everyone. This is another special Tech Travel Geeks podcast, and just like the last few specials, this is centered around some form of alcoholic beverage. This evening we are going to be talking gin. Some would say that it's a subset of vodka, but others consider gin to have its own rightful place in our drinks cabinet. So our first guest is returning for the third time, Laura Howe, who is sitting in front of a really impressive drinks cabinet. Welcome back, Laura. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. It's great to be here, virtually from my own home.
And as well as Laura, we have, for the first time on the Tech Travel Geeks podcast, Jenna Keighley. Thank you for joining us, Jenna. And you're, in a way, a bit of a subject matter expert about gin and its marketing and PR.
Well, that's right. Set me up so I can under-deliver. No, I do have a special interest in gin, let's put it like that. And a favourite brand.
And I have to say that I am actually sipping one of those products that you worked on recently.
You are still on the same bottle, Matteo.
I have, but we do have quite a wide selection of gins, so we keep them in circulation.
You've been pacing yourself.
Yes, because there have also been a joint release of quite a few Highland Island Scotch gins.
Ooh, okay.
Because of the current, let's put it this way, economic changes in the drinks industry, where the stills get used for gin production as well as Scotch whiskey. So it's an interesting process, which is generating a lot of local variants of gin. Definitely not of the London gin variety.
Right. That sounds delicious. Could you please get some extra bottles and just save them in the stash for Laura whenever Laura can make it to Edinburgh, please?
Definitely. And we'll see if we can post you one too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, Jenna, you had the pleasure of working with the Nantwich gin team from Cheshire Botanicals. Tell us more about that.
Oh, it's such a cool story in that the timing was pretty awful. They launched during the COVID pandemic. You know, they were kind of, the lockdown had the impact on them that it had on many other brands in terms of getting the resources in, you know, all the botanicals and getting that supply chain set up. That they launched at the end of November last year with a crowdfunding campaign. Unfortunately, at the moment, Laura, they are only available in the UK. Haven't quite got through all the paperwork required to send stuff abroad yet, but it will be coming. But yeah, Holly she's just one of those people who's a natural creative looking for an outlet. So when she went to university, she studied photography. She's, she can do design, and I think she also did a master's in kind of creative writing as well. So she's constantly looking for different creative outlets, and the family shares a passion for gin, and they were constantly, having their G&Ts around the kitchen table and talking about them. And they always had their own very, very kind of clear ideas about what gin should be like. And there's almost this kind of dearth of a really kind of powerful is a good word for it, Matteo, in terms of like, it's not the kind of gin that is not going to make an impression, or you're going to get it confused with others. So Holly spent over a year refining the recipe, working on various combinations of all the botanicals, and finally got it to the stage where, as the perfectionist she is, was happy with it. And yeah, they've kind of had a number of batches gone through. They're getting some really great traction. They actually recently won a London Spirits competition, silver medal for Nantwich gin. It's a classic London dry. And yeah, it's just really different from your Bombays or your Gordons, or that kind of side of the gin market, I guess.
And it's very, very enjoyable. I think we're on our last dribbles from the bottle this evening. And I found it to go very well, not just with tonic, but I'm drinking it with what looks like Coca-Cola, but is actually Kinotto. Have you heard of Kinotto?
No.
So Kinotto is an Italian soft drink made from some very, very sour citrus fruits, similar to grapefruits that grow in the south of Italy. And during the Italian period in the 20s and 30s, it was Italy's soft drink. And it's lost out that position since then because of big multinationals. But Kinotto is a bit, to describe it, it's a bit like tonic water with a citrus twist naturally.
Ooh.
And Nantwich gin pairs very well with Kinotto.
Interesting. They do say one of the serving suggestions is to have a slice of grapefruit with it. So that would kind of tie into that. Oh, you should have a chat with Fever Tree and get them to do a Kinotto variant.
Definitely. It's one of those sort of almost secret Italian soft drinks that people don't know about.
Interesting.
But Laura, you have, I believe you have a road trip planned for later this year in Italy?
Yes, we are going back to the Amalfi Coast. I'm sure there will be another. So just for some context, last year, me and my friend Kate, we went on a road trip from Switzerland down to Italy. And we basically drove from Lausanne, which is southwest part of Switzerland, past Milan for lunch, and then we ended up in Venice for a long weekend. And then from Venice, we drove back past Milan down to Tuscany for the night. And Florence was not our destination, but we were excited because we got there right when the news around the world about the bubonic plague wine windows launched. So we were so excited that when, we were some of the only Americans to travel during that time, since we lived in Europe. And since everyone was talking about wine windows, we were in the city for wine windows, but on the day that everything closed for 2 weeks for the Italian holiday. So we were very disappointed not to enjoy that. Then we did the Gucci outlet store the next day, which was a fabulous, fabulous thing. And we got all decked out in Gucci, which is what you need if you're going to go to the Amalfi Coast. And then we spent a couple days in Positano. Oh my God. And then we drove back up, had the most amazing steak in our lives at what we considered a road stop grillery outside of Florence, where just our eyes turned to hearts with our steak. And then we were in Modena to eat at one of Francescana Osteria's restaurants, Maria Luigia. And then the next day we had another Italian holiday. So I won't tell you what we did that day before going back to Lausanne. So it was epic. So we're going back, which is very exciting. That was too long of an intro.
But one of the things you can do on that road trip is find Kinotto and have a few. So obviously all the big mineral water brands in Italy do their own variant of Kinotto. So you'll get San Pellegrino Kinotto, you'll get San Benedetto Kinotto, and so forth.
Well, and it's relevant because the gin and tonic that I made myself was with the Malfi pink grapefruit gin. So I've got a little bit of grapefruit connection happening.
Nice.
Lovely. So yes,
Awesome.
very much looking forward to summer.
But I personally can recommend, as a happy customer, Nantwich Gin from Cheshire Botanicals. And also, their artist, Yeri, is very accommodating if you ask for some help with getting access to some of his art. He's very, very friendly.
Oh.
So I need to follow up on a couple of messages I have from him. I really, really like the bottle design for Nantwich Gin. It was really, really cool. And Yeri also does some other really cool art, and we'll link to that in this video description. It's not just about the gin. There's a lot of work that went into the design of the bottle, which I really appreciated.
Yes, he's a very talented local artist, and it really does it's reflecting the local architecture as well, the Tudor architecture in Nantwich. So very much a love letter to the town in the form of gin, which is the best kind of love letter, right?
It feels very British, if I don't say. Maybe not. Maybe that's the wrong thing. Okay, it's very great. It feels very British, so that seems appropriate.
Excellent.
Good. Speaking of Britain, or more specifically Great Britain, Jenna, you teased us with the news that you're going to be up north near us soon.
Yes, I'm having my first jab is coming up in the next couple of weeks. So as soon as I've had my first COVID jab, suddenly felt like I'm allowed to come back out of my cave where I've been hibernating and hiding for the past God knows how long. So I've booked my flights up to Inverness, and I will be staying for a week in Dufton in Murray's Bayside, and I'm very excited because there's loads to do around there, but one of the main things is it's surrounded by distilleries. So I will be visiting them, seeing if they'll let me through the doors for a little tour around. I don't even know if they do that, but I'm just going to put the request out there.
They're definitely very, very friendly, and a lot of them have organised tours if they can't give you the sort of more informal insider tour.
Yes.
Put it that way.
Yes. I'm banking on local connections to get me the VIP behind the scenes tour. We'll see how well that goes for me.
So
I believe in you.
We look forward to that, and more importantly, lots of your wildlife photography whilst you're in the region. God.
It's baby Highland cow season, and I just cannot get enough at the moment. My Instagram feed is just full of baby coos.
Okay, so as a non-Great Britanite, I'm not even going to pretend like I'm connected there. What is this baby cow thing?
What is my obsession with baby cows? Is that what you're asking?
Yes, and the Highland cows. Could someone please explain to me as a cultural thing?
You may not have seen one in person, but I'm sure you've seen pictures of hairy cows with horns. Usually they're ginger or orange.
Yes, I have.
So those are Highland cows. The same way the elephant is related to the mammoth, the normal Frisian cow is related to the Highland cow.
So are they cute, or is there something additional? Okay.
I feel like, Matteo, we need to have a picture to explain to Laura just
let me bring
how
that
cute
up.
these things are.
And is this like a visual thing, or is this like like an interactive petting zoo situation?
Well, if it's not an interactive petting zoo situation, I'm just going to sneak into the field.
You're going to get a VIP.
I kind of figure ask for forgiveness rather than permission at some point. No, apparently there is a place near Dufton, where you are actually allowed to pet the baby cows, pet the grown-up cows if you want as well. They occasionally visit the farmers markets, and apparently some of their cows, they like to be brushed. So it's basically the best way of just chilling out and just like cuddle and brush a Highland cow.
Oh,
So
okay.
this is an example of a few Highland cows in the wild.
Oh, those ones. Yeah.
Okay. And the baby, second row down. Show the baby one.
Yeah,
So
Matteo,
this one.
Yeah, give me.
No. Well, yes.
The one with all the babies. Okay.
You see? They're so
that's
little.
such a small photo. They are little, especially when the photo's little.
Yeah.
Okay. So are these milk cows? What's their purpose other than cuteness?
So it's both. They do produce milk, but they are made to sort of live in sort of tougher weather conditions.
Oh.
And their meat is very tasty too.
Hence the long hair. Okay, this is making sense now. All right. I'm with you.
But they're not exclusive to Scotland. Obviously, this is where they're most popular, but they are spotted around places like Switzerland. There's quite a few in alpine environments there because of their hardiness. And they're really popular in the west coast of the US, from all the way down from Vancouver to Northern California. And it's because they're relatively low maintenance. And so, for example, Candice and I go on holiday to just north of San Francisco. We go to one of our favourite wineries called Benziger Wineries, and they have some Highland cows which go around eating the grass and the weeds around their vineyards and producing fertilizer as they go. So it's not just about Highland cows, they have ulterior motives.
So in a trivia contest, I would never pick that Matteo knows a lot about Highland cows and is a worldwide connoisseur of Highland cows as well.
Mm-hmm. And there are alternative applications of fertilizing and weeding the vineyards.
Exactly. Makes sense why his favorite wine is also from there.
Not only that, just as with beer production, with whiskey production, when they finish off with the mash, so the grains, they can feed that to the cows, goats, sheep as well, which makes for even more flavoursome meat.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Apologies to any vegetarians watching.
Yeah. we went down a rabbit hole there, sorry.
Yes.
My fault.
But back to Nantwich.
No, it's
Jen,
not. That
it's
sounds great. I can't wait. Can't wait to see how you braid their hair and you brush it and cuddle it and maybe exchange friendship bracelets. I don't know what cows do when they're tiny.
Neither do I. I'm going to find out.
You're going to find out so much on this holiday.
Oh! I'll send you all the details, Laura. Then you can find your own. They're not even called. It's not a herd. I learned that the other day. I can't remember what they're called though. A troop of Highland cows. It's not
Matteo is tracking through his brain as we speak. He's going to tell us exactly.
I am using Microsoft Bing, so I may be a bit delayed.
Does that still exist? I didn't know that still existed.
They're in the middle of rebranding from Bing to Microsoft Search. But yes, it still exists.
Which they started as Microsoft Search, so that's funny.
Yeah, so it's still there. I can't see it on Wikipedia if there's any direct name of the...
I will find. I think I actually even wrote this somewhere.
Oh my God.
Stand by.
Oh, it's a herd.
That's
and
not
it's registered
what we were
in
looking
herd
for.
books from 1885.
What happened in 1884? That's what I want to know. Come on, Jenna.
No idea. Right. Did you know a group of Highland cows not called a herd like normal cows, but they're called a fold?
Oh.
A fold
of Highland cows.
Is that in any way related to your cat, Laura?
A fold.
Is she not a Scottish fold?
Oh no, she's got all of her ears. She's a Siamese mix.
Oh, okay.
But I know
Oh,
Scottish folds and Siamese look alike. That wasn't a very good joke. No.
Laura's
Sorry?
your obsession. We should talk about the cat. Where is she?
She's currently on the opposite corner of this room on her other chair. The chair that I'm sitting in right now is the most expensive chair in my apartment because it was an old thrift shop chair that my mom decided to get reupholstered once it was here in Switzerland, which meant it was Swiss prices and Italian upholstery. So you can put that together. Anyway, so this is the chair that's usually in my office that she'll sit in. And then when I'm on like webinars or like courses, I'll sit in it sometimes just to be more comfortable. And usually she'll like fight me for it. And it's normally like when I'm on video about to like have some like session or, oh my God. So yeah, so I took a risk and pulled it out here to sit in my drinking library in hopes that we wouldn't fight and she's sleeping. So that's good.
That is
The most well-traveled pussycat in the world.
Yes. How many international flights did she be on? 1, 2, 3, 5. She's been on 5 international flights.
wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So she flew during the pandemic. She did not wear a mask. That's okay. Yeah, when I went back home for the extended period over the holidays, just everybody's lives were crazy. So I decided to take her with me because then if borders closed, at least we'd be together. She's not a fan of flying, but she just resolves to it and deals. She was so popular on the flight. Like we got a selfie with the captain when we were in Amsterdam on our way to Seattle. All of the flight attendants were just all over her with their gloves, petting her, asking her questions. This one flight attendant came up to me and was like, "She's so pretty. Look at her blue eyes." And I was like, "Thanks. She's adopted." They didn't have the same response you just did. It then went into how great is it that I adopted? I was like, okay, fine, cool. Yeah. So it was good fun.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Our little ones little felines are in a moment of crisis. Vala went for her operation and has had a cone of shame. Rodney doesn't recognize the scent and doesn't know what this Terminator cat is and is really, really terrified by the little one and is growling and running away and hissing. So we currently have our flat split in two. Candice is in what we call the East Wing, looking at the castle with the little cat, and I'm in the West Wing with Rodney.
Oh, baby. Does that break your heart? It breaks my heart.
Yes, well, they're the best of friends normally, but this whole going away, having an operation, and coming back smelling wrong has really put Rodney off. He doesn't realize that it's his friend.
In a past life, when Minnie had a sibling, they never got along until I took them both to the vet at the same time. And then when I was home, they both sat in the same area of the house, different chairs facing the wall, because they were so upset that they went to the vet. But then they kind of got along, sort of, or at least they could be in the same quadrant of the couch together because they hated the same thing.
You.
Yeah, and car rides and bed. So yeah, yeah, we've come a long way.
Reassuringly, neither Rodney nor Vala have anything against the scent of me when I have quite a lot of gin or whiskey or whatever other beverage I'm into on the day. But I have to say, Rodney is very curious about beer recently, as in he likes sniffing it.
It's so Minnie has that. Minnie is not into any people food except bread. And so I read that cats, they like the yeast smell. So that's probably what he's smelling.
Probably, yes. Speaking of yeast, what have you been baking recently, Laura?
Oh, I have not. But I am about to bake my own birthday cake. So that'll be this weekend's project.
Very
What
good.
kind?
Funfetti, which is an American cake. Yeah, I see your face. Funfetti. So it's basically a standard American cake where it's like white vanilla cake, but then it has sprinkles on the inside. So when you cut into it, it's like a party. It's like your classic in the US, it's like the classic birthday cake.
Oh.
It's amazing. So last year during pandemic time, I put a call out on the internet to my friends and was like, send me birthday cards, which was amazing because then some people sent care packages. And one of my aunts sent me this big care package. Who the fuck knows how much she spent on shipping and stuff, but in it included all these fun stuff, including funfetti cake mix. So that's something that Kate and I were doing for our various birthdays. And there's no more cake mix. Hopefully somebody in a care package it'll come, but I'll make it from scratch and it'll probably be better than the Betty Crocker Pillsbury version. So cake is next on the list.
Awesome.
How about you, Jenna? Do you engage in baking much, or are you just a consumer?
No, I do have my moments. I tend to be the kind of cheer squad for Manu when he's cooking because he is way more trustworthy than me in the kitchen, but I kind of do the baking. And it was my neighbour's birthday recently, and it was one of those classics, like you suddenly realise it's somebody's birthday, you haven't been out shopping because it's a pandemic and there's no time to like prime same day delivery because that doesn't exist in the sticks where I live. So instead, I thought I would show the neighbour my appreciation and celebrate his birthday with Paul Hollywood's iced bun recipe. Yeah, iced buns are one of my favourites, but my timing's a little off. So in the recipe, it talks about like leave it to proof for an hour, it'll double in size, then come back. And so in the end, I had to leave it for the second proof overnight because the yeast wasn't working properly or I did something wrong or whatever. So basically it went from birthday ice buns to day after birthday warm breakfast rolls and an apology for being that rubbish.
I'm sure
it was appreciated. Yeah.
Well, it still tasted decent. So, you know, that's kind of my basic benchmark.
So iced buns, I'm not familiar with that. Can you describe it?
So it's more on the bready side, but like a sweet bread.
Okay.
So it's like an enriched dough. And then you just put a thick layer of icing on top.
So similar to cinnamon rolls or sticky buns?
Kind of, but without the cinnamon.
Okay, yeah.
Without the extra cinnamon and sugar.
Yeah, you could literally think, you know, when you get like a brioche roll, and some lunatics out there actually have brioche rolls for like hot dogs and burgers and stuff, which to me is just weird.
Okay, I'm on that. Yeah, but okay.
It's that kind of texture, but it's like a white bread. It just looks like a soft white bread. But it's really
okay.
And Paul
sounds amazing.
The Don when it comes to like baking bread and bread type things. So I shamelessly ripped off his recipe.
Amazing. I think you should. And I think, the best thing about birthdays is having birthday cake for breakfast. So I'm sure delivering it for breakfast was okay.
Yeah. Well, yeah, hopefully. Next year I'll actually try and do something properly for the day. But, you know, I'm edging ever closer to
it's okay.
being on the right day. It's all I can hope for, really.
I totally understand.
How about you, Matteo? Have you been baking? Are you one of them?
I don't. I'm very lucky to live with a very accomplished baker. You mentioned Paul Hollywood. Candice has been in the final selections for the British Bake Off, but never made it to the actual TV show. So
wait, whoa! How have we not known this? Maybe we have.
I think it's partly down to we let Candace's domain, Candace Bakes Cake, lapse. And she doesn't shout out about it a lot, but she's a very, very good baker. And that's partially the reason that over the last year or so I've put on a lot of weight is Candace's baking.
Seems like that was well earned.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this week it was lemon fingers, which was very, very tasty. Back to the citrus.
Oh. We're all
And does she
craving.
do any baking? I've heard of people doing like cupcakes with gin. Does she do any baking with gin?
I don't remember anything with gin, but Christmas cake, Christmas puddings, a lot of fruitcake with alcohol. It tends to be more like amaretto or brandy.
Right.
Mm.
Well,
So-
maybe just give her that subliminal suggestion and see where she takes it.
She
Exactly.
actually might be in the living room watching this stream now. So, Candice,
Oh,
if you're watching,
apologize.
you're in the side of the flat with the kitchen.
But Matteo, you're in the side of the flat with the gin.
And sadly not. I have my
Oh.
glass of gin here and a couple of bottles of whiskey in my home office, but not the gin.
Okay, then yeah, okay. Noted.
But yes, I should be okay for a few hours.
Okay. While the cupcakes are baking.
Yeah,
You'd like not be disturbed until the cupcakes are out.
But whenever it's safe to meet, I look forward to introducing Candice to you because you'll be on the same wavelength with baking and alcohol.
Amazing.
That
So-
sounds great.
Yeah.
Two of the
We all know
great
where we're
joys of
going.
life. Two of the great joys of life.
Mm.
Another thing that we've been missing out for apart from Laura, who's been traveling backwards and forwards to Seattle.
Yeah, let's not over accessorize. It was 2 trips in the past calendar year to go see home and my family. And yes, I know that was luxurious, but I'm not hopping around everywhere. I'm not like most Americans at the moment who are in America, and America seems open. Back to your question.
Yes. Let's move on to travel and where we hope to be going soon. Jenna, you mentioned that you're soon to have your vaccine in the next couple of weeks.
Can't wait.
And Laura, you should be on the same track in Switzerland as well.
I just got mine 2 days ago.
Congratulations.
Yay.
Thank you. I can lift my arm now. It's great. Yeah, that was super exciting. It
Great.
was a great time. Yeah, I don't know how they're going to run them in the UK, but here in Switzerland, the people who are running the vaccination stations or locations, so, here in Lausanne, it's a big, well, there's multiples, but the one I went to was a big, like, event center, so like if you're, and then the people who are staffing it are the Swiss military people the young men who are 18 to 20 years old doing their mandatory military service. So it's a bunch of sweet young men who are just talking in such sweet French. Blah, blah, blah. So I'm in this phase of like learning French, which is exciting. I've whined about it on Twitter, and I'm at the point where like I'm in my 5th week out of 6. It's been an intensive 3 hours a day, 5 days a week thing. But I'm like a 5 or 6 year old who just has learned how to read, where I'm like, we'll be going shopping and I'm reading things and saying them out loud and not even realizing it. So as I was going through to get my vaccine, there were a number of different stations that you go to like check in, get info, right? So all the sweet military boys behind their masks are like saying these things in sweet French. And I'm just like, oh, they're telling me to do something. It's not in the script that I've learned in French class about, oh, I'm so sorry. Parlez-vous anglais? And then they're like, of course, which in my brain, I feel like they're saying like, of course I speak English. How dare you not think that I don't? But really that's probably just whatever word they learned, and they're very sweet about it and probably not obnoxious as I think of it in my head. But yeah,
So
it's quite
done.
enjoyable.
You're well on your way to true travel freedom soon.
I know, it's kind of, it's exciting.
Mm.
Switzerland, probably similar to most European countries, took their sweet time with the timeline, and then all of a sudden it was just up. So I me and all my friends were like quickly waiting for the site to load, just remembering the days of waiting for concert tickets. But it was to get stuck. It's great.
I received my blue envelope in the post today, so I'm going next Wednesday for my vaccination.
Ooh.
So soon.
Yes, finally. It feels like we've been waiting for a while for this, but it's good.
But it's the benefit of being in a younger age group. I like telling myself that.
Yes.
There you go.
So we don't have any international travel planned for this year. We'll wait at least until next year. But this year we're going to take our new little hybrid car for a road trip in the UK, and we'll be coming down south to places in England that we've never been to.
Okay. Have you got any already on the list?
Yes. So we're going to somewhere called Swallowcliff, I believe, to stay in a pub owned by the guy who was on Top Gear and Grand Tour, James May. So we're staying at his pub for a couple of nights and using that as a base to go to a safari park in Stonehenge and see that part of the world.
Cool.
I would also like to go and see Bath. It's a town I don't remember ever being to, and it's a very pretty city, similar to Edinburgh in many ways.
It's absolutely gorgeous. I went to uni there and it was fantastic. So yeah, definitely go to Bath.
Great.
Although you have to call it Bath apparently, but never quite stuck.
Bath or Bath?
You're supposed to call it Bath, but all normal people call it Bath.
Bath. You take a bath in Bath.
Yeah.
Sure that. What if my hotel pub doesn't have a bath and bath? Did you ask for a bath and bath? I could keep going, you guys. Somebody will say something.
It's named that. It's called that because of the Roman baths that are in the city. They're still there, very famous for its natural springs that have been captured for that. Is that right, Jenna?
Yes.
Yeah. And speaking of bathing, you've been in the lake a few times, haven't you, Laura?
Yes. I was like, where are we going with this? Yes, I have.
See,
okay.
Laura's been doing some wild swimming in the lake in Lausanne.
Yeah, in February I started cold water swimming, which is amazing. So the lake, I guess, the bodies of water take a long time to warm up and a long time to cool down, which means that February is the coldest time to go swimming. So it was a great time to start. Yeah, it was about 5 degrees Celsius in the water, 4 or 5. Yeah. So start out with 4 minutes, I think it was the first time, and then quickly went up to 12 minutes. It was amazing. It's amazing. It's like the first time, I mean, I lift weights, I work out and do bar, and I've done yoga, and like there's a lot of people who are like, running, for example, that's the only time their mind is clear, right? For me, swimming is the only time that my mind is clear. And just kind of how I got started was a friend of mine has been doing this since October. So basically the whole thing is if you want to go cold water swimming in the winter, you keep swimming, you just don't stop when it gets cold. So she was one of those people, and she kept doing it just as a way to like build resilience in something with the pandemic. And I, loved the video she was posting on Instagram. I was like, this seems amazing. I want to do this. And honestly, like it helped me through like the winter pandemic fatigue of just like, I'm sick of taking walks. I'm sick of fucking working outside. It's cold. It's gray. It's awful. And this just like going to the lake. So I live right near Lake Geneva. So it's like a 15-minute walk for me. There's a whole process that my friend helped, and she's kind of like scienced it out as far as what you do to prepare for it and have a good experience so that you don't hate life completely. And then you can get that adrenaline rush and, all of the, your body shakes, the calorie burn. There's so many health benefits. But for the most part, it's mental. And it was like one of my friends jokes that I joined a club. I joined a swimming club. So it's just like there's a crew of us in a private WhatsApp group that's like, who's going today at what time? Okay, let's go. So it's just a way to kind of have some buddies, and you just go, and it's, 10 or 12 minutes in the water, and then you just feel so like refreshed and clear. And yeah, it's amazing. It's totally amazing.
It does kind of feel like you've joined a cult.
Totally. Oh, it is. Of course it is. I mean, no, that's not true. Ooh, I shouldn't have said that. It's a club, just like, people who love Highland cows. I couldn't remember what the name of it was. It's different.
It's everyone I've ever spoken to who does wild swimming or cold water swimming, raves about it, and it has that kind of following. Like, if you buy into it and you do it, like, everyone just goes nuts.
Well, yeah, but here's the thing: is like, I'm not here. This is not a program where I'm trying to recruit, because if you're not into it, I don't want you to come with me.
Yeah.
Because your experience is my responsibility, and I'd rather not have, so it was great. When I went my first time, a friend of mine decided to come with me for his first time as well, because I was talking about it. He's like, I'll go with you. I'm like, okay. So we started to go, and it was just this amazing thing that became this ritual of like, we'd walk down to the lake together, and sometimes with the group, sometimes alone. And then we go swimming, and then we come back. And it was just like this process. I have more body fat than the average European. So I don't get the shakes and quakes after. Some of my friends do, and they're always shaking, especially in the winter. Not so much now because it's warmer.
Mm-hmm.
It was fun. A couple of weeks ago, I went on a swim, and afterwards there was this woman who's maybe in her 70s, very frail, gorgeous woman, right? And her daughter, who is, I think her daughter in her 30s, a little bit larger. And so the woman was asking me after, I play pleasantries, how's the water? There's like this bonding with other swimmers. And then she was like, oh, you're finished with swimming. Why aren't you shaking? I was like, girl, have you seen me? Like, I'm not skinny. I have body fat. I'm good. Like, and it's just like, for me, it's like, I have never, ever enjoyed being in a swimsuit in my life. Like, I always have body issues, but like swimming so much this winter, like I'm now changing my clothes on the side of Lake Geneva, like fully naked under a towel. Like, most of my winter has been running around without a bra on and like, but a shirt on top, right? And I've just never been so free and just loving my body. Jenna, I have a thigh gap. I've never had one. I don't know where that came from.
So
I'm just like, a thigh gap, Matteo.
Oh,
a thigh
very
gap.
good.
You're probably very familiar with those. Maybe not on yourself.
Not since lockdown started. Thanks.
Thanks the bacon for that.
So there's a lot of great things, but also it's something that I'm doing for me, which is wonderful. And there's, different health benefits that are out there. There's a beautiful article that came out in The Guardian a couple weeks ago, a long article about this woman who, I think it was right before the pandemic, her and her partner split up. And then he stayed in the US, she went to their beach house on the coast in France. And then as she was like going through this process with lockdown of like, kind of her transition in her life, she started swimming. And so she tells us a story about like going on like the New Year's swim with like the women who are like the red caps, because they're kind of literally this club, they're all 70. And how like by cold water swimming in the ocean, they got to watch the weather, because it's very much, what is it raining today? Is it not? What time is the best weather? Stuff like that. And we're in a lake. Like, sometimes when it's stormy, there is like waves and stuff, and it's kind of fun, but it's like, it's super safe here. And plus it's Switzerland, right? It's not like the ocean. And it's a beautiful thing to do, to just like connect to like nature and everything. So it's amazing. And it's a cult. There's no membership. It's just sheer willpower for sure. And yeah, another thing that was great about this group was, over in March, we actually went Arctic swimming. So we went up to the mountains to a frozen lake where we took an axe and drilled a hole into the lake. Then we each popped into 0 degrees water.
I saw that on did you put it on Instagram or Twitter or one of those? I did. I did stories. I still haven't done the post, and I need to Facebook. I don't know. I'm so interested with content. But yeah, and like literally, and then like one of our friends came who was a videographer and came and did a whole like event thing. It was an ordeal. And then we had fondue on the side of the lake. And it's like, it's one of those things like, whenever, would I have started this or like dipped into a frozen, I've never been on a frozen lake. I was just like walking around this frozen lake. Like, I'm from an area where like winter doesn't really happen in snow. So like, I'm not from Minnesota, Wisconsin, from Seattle. So I was just like, what is this ice that I'm on?
So I'm living my Swiss life this winter, and it's amazing. And this is, as someone said, they're like, Laura, you should get your Swiss passport now, because since you've cold water swam in the lake, that's a very Swiss thing. So there it is.
So after
And
fondue or raclette, or what's the official name in
it
your
was
part of
fondue.
it? Fondue.
They're two different things, sir.
Oh, what's the
Raclette.
difference?
Okay, fondue is, oh man, fondue is like the different cheeses in like the pot. So it's like, and that you dip it with bread. Raclette is like you get a whole piece of cheese that's kind of like melts one layer at a time, and it kind of, that one drips on potatoes and pickles and stuff. Yeah,
You can
people
get home
Yeah.
things where you can do it's like a raclette pan that goes underneath, and then you can just tip it on like bread and potatoes, and so good.
Yeah, I would say like this is gonna make me lose my Swiss residency, I'm sure, but I would say fondue is almost like a stew that you dip bread into, and raclette is almost like a sauce in a way of like how the cheese falls off. Yeah.
That makes sense.
I'm getting deported tomorrow when someone hears that.
But just to reinforce your case for maintaining your Swiss residency, what is something they add to the fondue to give it a bit of flavour and, in a way, keep it liquid?
White wine.
Yes.
Ideally Swiss white wine.
So, top tip, don't eat too much fondue if you're driving.
Top tip, if you are eating fondue, you need to drink it with either hot tea or white wine. Do not drink with beer or red wine, because the cheese coagulates in your belly, and that's not comfortable.
So stick to the white wine with the fondue.
Yeah.
And you can get fondue without, you can get cheese fondue, but you can also get fondue with meat. And it's like you cook the meat in, I think it's like oil or stock or something.
Like bouillon.
Isn't it?
It's bouillon, it's stock. And I love that almost more than the cheese. Yeah. Because it's meat, like cheese cuts into your gut. It's all delicious.
Who are we trying to kid?
So beware, if you're lactose intolerant, this may not be for you.
And if you are gluten intolerant and decide to order some fondue and not dip the bread, not a good idea, because sometimes they use flour to thicken it.
Ow. Okay, I did not know that.
Interesting.
Yeah. Someone in my life had that the day before of an international flight, and it was not very happy.
Oh dear. Now, I've been to the sort of shopping mall fondue place just over the border from Italy. I believe one time when I was over at my parents' house, Candice was flying back from Malpensa Airport, which ironically is closer to Switzerland than it is to Milan. And whilst we were there, we after we had dropped her off, we went to the shopping mall just over the border and had some very tasty fondue there. So it's not just a high-end dish, it's a bit like your average local meal.
Yeah, I wouldn't call fondue a high-end meal at all. Definitely local. Well, it just, yeah.
Great. So we've talked about cheese with wine. We've talked about gin and mentioned beer. What beer have you been drinking recently? I think I'll go with Laura first.
Not really. I do enjoy beer. I love white beer, blanche, but from a tap. But bars and terraces just opened here in Switzerland a couple weeks ago. But I haven't really had a draft beer yet. The last beer I had, because I was excited because I went to a bottle shop, was Cuvée de Troll, the Belgian beer with the crazy troll on the so that was the last beer I had. It's one of my favorite beers, and I didn't realize they bottled it. So I've been living without that for a while, but it was so fun and so lovely. It's fun to like drink a beer where like the mascot is a little illustrated troll with a hops crown on it. So cute. I'm sure he'd be a jerk, but yeah. So that's me.
Again,
Belgian beer.
amazing branding design there.
Yeah. Yes.
So Jenna, do you drink beer much? Not really.
I never got a taste for it. So yeah, I tend to just stick with mainly red wine or spirits.
And the occasional cava, prosecco, champagne.
And the occasional yes. Although if I'm visiting the in-laws in France, it becomes more than just an occasional, like before every meal, except for breakfast. But they do. I'm still trying to find someone who I can convince to import it. There's a sparkling in the Tour, the region around Tour, and it's so good. And you can't find it anywhere over here, and it's so disappointing. They have it's called Vouvray. It's like the area is called Vouvray. They do white wine, but they also do a sparkling, and they do the brut and they do the demi-sec. And the demi-sec Vouvray is just the best. And Manu's parents basically know that I'm kind of addicted to it, so they always get a case in before I arrive because they know I'll get through it in like a 4-day visit. So yeah, that's like literally the pinnacle. If I could kind of snap my fingers and just like magic up the thing, that would be it.
Excellent. We'll need to see if we can find a link to some literature on this and add it to the video description.
I will find some links to. There are loads of cav around in the Vouvray area, so there are lots of suppliers. It's just that the French know that it's good, so they keep it to themselves, which I can't really complain about.
Which is similar to what the Italians are doing with Pignoletto at the moment, which is not prosecco but the other Italian sparkling white wine, which is very tasty and very good.
Interesting.
I want both of these things, and I'm in between both of those places.
And you could get your hands on both of these things. This is you really should.
So you can be our tasting proxy, Laura.
Yes.
I have no problem with that at all. I'm currently I can take this one for you guys. No problem. Yeah, no problem.
So we will have to do a live tasting session where we just sit here and watch you drink wine.
Oh my God, welcome to my wet dream. This sounds great.
Oh God.
It sounds like an episode for the summer. If we can get
that sounds perfect.
If we can get Kate in too.
I've got a couple of alcohol-related projects that are happening. In my kitchen right now, I've got a jar of homemade limoncello that's stewing.
Ooh.
I should have probably grabbed that for like props. Yeah. And then I have a barrel that's currently on its final week of barreling. What is that when you keep it in a barrel? What's the verb for that?
Aging?
Aging. I'm aging an old fashioned.
Wow.
Yeah. So you make the cocktail, you put it in the barrel, and it just gets a richer flavor. So last year for my birthday, I got all like alcohol themed products. Kate, my friend, was amazing, and she got me what I wanted, which she got me a homemade gin kit. So that's actually currently there's still some left here. And yes, the base was vodka, so just spices. And then she also got me a barrel. And then her request for my birthday this year is to use the barrel because my birthday is next week and I'm really good at rationing things out and not using my gifts. So yeah, she threatened to either, if I didn't use it, she would wrap it up again. So that's very exciting.
I don't think I'd have the self-control to make a cocktail and not drink it.
Oh, I mean, you gotta sample it every week, but I do have a lot of self-control, which I think I need to put on my resume or something. Like, I'm really good at that.
Definitely, I will endorse you for that skill on LinkedIn.
Please do. Please do. She has all these friends who she doesn't drink that quickly.
But speaking of cocktails, Jenna, tell us the story behind mixology.
Oh, yeah.
Oh man, yes, the story behind mixology. Well, when we were originally, so this is for context, for anyone who cares, this was a business that I launched last year. Terrible timing, given everything that happened. So I actually exited that business at the end of the year. But it was one of those kind of things where you talk about comms and marketing and all the different things that come together and the different talents of the team members. It kind of naturally lent itself to some form of recipe style thing. And I also wanted an excuse to buy a cocktail making kit. So yeah, we ended up calling the business Mixology Communications, and it's still going, and they have a fantastic team in place. They're doing brilliant work. So yeah, it's a kind of watch this space. It's just a little bit, I'm kind of sad that I'm not on the journey anymore with them, but they have a really solid team. So
I like the name mixology and how that's connected to cocktails. I thought that was very clever.
Yes, it's any excuse really, you know me.
Yes, it's definitely on theme for you.
Yes, so lots of fun to be had.
Great. But you're still in the sort of PR comms side of the world.
Yes. Me and my agency have won at the moment. So yeah.
All you need.
Sorry?
That's all you need.
Exactly. Me, myself, and I. And I have I've been really, really grateful and humbled to see like how many people have come through for me in this, the last year or so hasn't been an easy thing for anyone. And there have been so many communications professionals that I've seen, who've either been furloughed or have unfortunately lost their jobs. So there are lots of fantastic independent people out there. So yeah, I'm kind of grateful that I've got such a great list of people that I can lean on who, have different skills from me that we can collaborate on various projects. And yeah, it seems to be going okay so far.
That's cool.
That's really cool. So if you're interested in hiring someone who is really good at PR and comms, especially in the and cocktails, and is great chat in any environment, whether the professional office one or more importantly the after party at trade shows or big events, you can follow Jenna. You can follow Jenna on LinkedIn as well as Twitter, Instagram. Obviously, I've worked with you quite a few years now, directly and indirectly through a couple of brands at least.
We've all worked with Jenna here. We're Team Jenna.
Team Mobile. Yay.
Yes. It's all going to start somewhere.
Exactly. And, I seem to recall a certain Laura Howe being at the centre of the party on a number of occasions.
Oh, yes.
Leading us all astray.
That's true. That is true. Yeah, I've got flashbacks of Mobile World Congress happening right now. So much. But it could just be the style of, I think it was Barcelona was where I first experienced gin and tonic glasses in the big bubble glasses. Yeah, I mean, the people who work in technology are some form of nerd. And so when we get together, it's like, finally, we're an age where we don't have to be shy about it and can be whoever we want to be, which is lovely. And yeah, some good times.
For you, which have been the most memorable. Like for me, Harry's Bar at IFA is the one event where I know I'm going to regret my life choices the next day. It's written into the contract. What about you? Like, is it CES? Is it MWC?
Oh God.
Which event gives you the worst PTSD?
Oh no, but like I'm in this. So I guess like because I was in when I was in Mobile, because I did a ton of like my own events for the meetups, right? So like I didn't do too much of like the conference circuit. So a lot of the conference circuits were my first time. So I was like so I don't have PTSD. I missed that and I want to go back to that. That was great, like, So I mean, I don't have PTSD, but like a good memory. I mean, honestly, the last CES that I was in, I don't know if you were there. You probably were. I mean, it was the year of the Vive, and that was incredible because it was like I was basically a hired hand to support Vive, so it wasn't even my main domain. And I mean, I understand party hard and work hard and what Vegas is all about. Oh my God, that was amazing. That was amazing. I mean, yeah, there was some. Yeah, that was a great time.
Oh, how about you, Matteo?
Yeah.
I would go with MWC, but not one event in particular, location in particular. Usually the Tuesday evening at MWC is the make or break one. Because you tend to have 4 or 5 brands all competing for people.
Mm-hmm.
And whichever party you end up at the end of the evening till closing time is the winner. So
was Tuesday the last? That's the closing day?
No, the closing day is the Thursday, Friday. But because all the influencers, journalists, press conferences have already happened the week before and the weekend before the trade show Tuesday evening is when the brands tend to have the big events for influencers, journalists, partners, everyone, and they go all out. And I have to say, the last few years, 2017, 18, 19, I think the winner was OnePlus.
Oh, definitely.
Their team really managed to get the right balance between things. And I was lucky enough to then get invited to the after party with Eric and his team. And it was pretty mental. It was great fun. But we had people like the Mobile Nations team, who are now part of Future Labs. They were staying on at the after party until the last minute to go and get their bag, get in an Uber and go to the airport. We had been going ahead since around about 6 p.m. with dinners with whoever we were having dinner with and the final meetings of the day, all the way through to that.
Yeah, so you're right. That is fairly insane.
Tuesday evenings at MWC, and every year the brands maybe vary a bit, but OnePlus for the last few years had been the brand that was winning that. And I think that's in part Eric and his expertise in the space. I don't know if you know Eric Zarshenas.
No.
He's one of the sort of people I've enjoyed a drink with in 3-4 continents at this point. Because I've met him in China, Europe, and in the States. So it's quite amusing. But yeah, OnePlus is the sort of events that people like Jenna, who is working for a competitor, would end up at.
Yeah, exactly. We would have our cocktail, our Race Point cocktail when I was working for Race Point Global for Huawei. And so we kind of like, everybody come to us, and they'd be like, yeah, we know you're going to be going on to OnePlus because I'm coming with you. Because there was a time when Sohail Ahmed, so ex Nelson Bostock, who supported on HTC, is such a small, incestuous kind of industry. And so he was at OnePlus for a couple of years as well. So yeah, I remember kind of rocking up at the OnePlus party. I'm like, all of you lot said you were coming to my cocktail first, and you just all buggered off straight. And there was I think there was a BlackBerry event as well on the same night as ours. There were literally about 4 events that were all competing, but everybody ended up with OnePlus.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So speaking out of turn, maybe since you both have PTSD, I am like, can't wait to get back, not necessarily get back, but I'm just like hearing these stories and remembering like the chaos and excitement of MWC and CES and all the different events. And granted, I've been out of working in the mobile space because like after HTC, I went to a very different industry and had different kind of events, but ish. But basically, like I miss being part of like that, planning these events and bringing people together. And so it's hearing, you both talk about this. I'm just like, oh, how excited. I mean, in a post-pandemic world and also like a Laura-centric world of like, what's the brand I can help party with next, It's just exciting.
Yeah.
The energy and meeting people and all this.
I'm out of the mobile space as well, completely from a sort of professional day job standpoint. But I'm still involved from a sort of Tech Travel Geeks hobby standpoint. And so I actually miss the more corporate side of it, as in organising at the events at our office in Barcelona and doing things there. That was quite fun, having that facility to do that.
Yeah, because you're in like a hybrid role.
Exactly.
You got to be there. Yeah.
I was in the lucky position where there was no conflict of interest whatsoever, but was able to do both where possible, which added to the burnout of these events.
Yes.
But do you think things will go back to the way they were, or are things going to be toned down significantly going forward? Not just for the travel, but the actual fact that a lot of these brands have realised they don't need the large expenditure and operational commitment to make these things happen.
Let's take this.
I agree with you in some ways not, because take MWC, for example. That was always where the business deals for the year would happen. And all aside from all the fun stuff that we would do and all the media and the coverage and announcing products, that's where you would actually get, the heads of all the mobile networks in a room and have those kind of conversations. I'm not sure that kind of thing ever really can go fully digital. And I think especially for new market entrants or smaller companies who aren't, say, your Ericssons and, take over an entire hall for your booth and that kind of thing. The number of smaller companies who would just wander around and happen to bump into people and have those kind of spontaneous conversations. Those people are going to be desperate for it to get back to the way it was. I think as human beings, we have fairly short memories. So I think it's going to be slow. I think potentially things will start edging closer to some semblance of normality from 2022 onwards. But I think people are still going to feel that trauma and still going to be very, very careful. 2023, 24, 25, assuming that we don't get hit by another global pandemic, I think that's going to kind of, we're vaccinated, it's fine. It's all going to kind of fade into dim and distant history. And that's when we'll see things properly get back to normal, I think.
Great. That's a bit of optimism I think we all need. But in the shorter term, for example, MWC in Barcelona in June this year, do you think that's happening?
It's happening, but it's not going to be the MWC that any of us recognise, I don't think.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. Because IFA did happen in person for a very small group of people last year, and they're planning on going ahead with it this year. Who knows how people will be invested, and with the current travel restrictions and the second and third waves, it's going to be very tough.
Yeah. I
But
think
hopefully
they
it will
want to
come
show
back.
that they're
Come
still
back.
alive.
Sorry.
I think they want to show that they're still alive, that, you know, people don't forget about the show and the event, so that when they are in a position to ramp it up properly, that people will still be thinking about them as a relevant option for their marketing spends.
Yeah.
Mobile space is still going, but completely different from our standpoint. It's all digital at the moment. Speaking of mobiles, and this is not any form of judgment, what are the devices you're using at the moment? Jenna, I know you're an iPhone girl.
Jenna couldn't wait to be off the HTC business so she can go back to her roots.
No, when I left HTC.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I got an iPhone. I managed to make it a week before I wanted to throw it at a wall and ended up giving it to my mum. And then I did a whole number of other years with Huawei devices and HTC devices. And it's literally only been the last 8 months that I've been an iPhone girl, and I feel like such a traitor.
You should. There's been a lot of, you should. That's great. That's how loyalty is bought. Years and years of literally service. Yeah.
Don't worry, I'm not judging. I'm not judging. I have an iPhone too.
Yeah.
And in some spaces, I was known as Mr. Android with regards to events and development and other things. So I obviously have a stack of phones next to me on my desk.
Yeah.
But I do have an iPhone, and it's important to learn what it's like and feel the pain of notifications on your iPhone to be able to appreciate some of the good things of Android.
I like that as a sentence. I'm learning iPhone to appreciate. I remember my like first week with HTC when I switched from iPhone 8 to whatever. I can't remember. What was my first HTC? I don't remember. I was like, is there a way to turn it on so when I get notifications, the screen lights up? And my manager at the time was like, who the fuck are you? Who did I just hire? And I was like, you know who you hired. I'm rocking a Pixel 4, so I'm still Androiding it.
Nice.
Is that
and the best part,
pop socket?
Yeah, it's a pop socket. It's ours.
Nice.
I missed when I was in Japan. They were big with the Ring, and I had a ring holder that was connected to the phone, so it was super secure. And I would just like twirl it around my hand, like it was a pen or whatever, like on the metro. And people were like, "That's fascinating." I was just like, jewelry. I don't know. I was just fucking with it. Yeah. No, I honestly like. I guess I've been on Android as my personal phone since 2012, and then the last 4 years I would rock both, like the Android, and then for work I had an iPhone. So it was kind of neat to like play both OSs. And the best part about it is anytime that I take photos, like a lot of my friends and then colleagues as well, they'd be like, "What phone is that? Oh my God, it's so nice." And they're like team iPhone. They don't even carry chargers with them. They're constantly asking people like for a charger to charge their phone. I was like, who are you? How do you not have a charger in your phone? Oh, because they're iPhone people who at some point their battery lasted. So I'm just like, here, I got a cord. I know how this. I'm always prepared. It's what I used to do for a living. Yeah. But I like my Android. I mean, I'm part of it. Like I'm part of the circuit. And, the biggest annoyance now is realizing that, Android crops stories and images differently on Instagram than iOS. So that's something to realize. Yeah. So
I'm a big fan of the pop sockets, but more importantly, the Ring ones. Jenna, when you were working with Huawei, did you encounter the linguistic challenges of those rings?
Linguistic?
So in Chinese, they call the rings for your smartphone, the ones that can be used as a stand and for holding them, they call them love handles. It it doesn't translate very well to English, but there's a lot of those sold, and they cause great hilarity with the here, have a love handle for your phone.
Yeah, luckily we never came across that one because I think that would have probably finished me off.
I got my own love handles. Why do I need to buy somebody else's?
Exactly, but the funny thing is that the very, very clever people at a minor Chinese smartphone brand called Duji took this to a whole new level and did packaging for them, which was reminiscent of a condom packaging. And it was just hilarious, just their deliberate Chinese linguistic double entendre applied to phone holders, and it was just priceless. So if you're shopping for phone rings to keep your phone safe online on AliExpress, be very careful of the language used, because it can be quite funny.
Always practice safe phone. Always practice safe phone.
Exactly. Keep it safe.
Excellent advice.
Great. So I think that we can wrap this one up on that note. Let's stay safe.
Tumbleweeds.
Laura, tell us where people can follow you online.
I'm sorry. I'm like, and the person with the best comment gets a year full of safe love handles for their phone, courtesy of Matteo and Tech Travel Geeks.
I will actually reach out to Duji and see if they will provide us with some prizes on that.
Oh,
feel like
that would be great. I would promote the shit out of that for sure. I love handles for phones and bodies. Okay. You can find me on the internet on Twitter at @LammyKey and on Instagram at CheekyLamiki.
Awesome.
And that's the best places.
And how about you, Jenna?
I am also on Twitter and Instagram at Jenna Keighley. That's very simple. None of this cheeky malarkey.
Great. Just posing as a Brit.
Thank you very much for joining this boozy podcast, this gin-themed podcast, which went off on all sorts of wonderful tangents.
Brought to you by your friends, the Love Handle Makers.
We went down every rabbit hole we could find.
I'm sure there's more, but I'm out of gin.
And we didn't even touch on Rivella. That will be another one for the next Swiss-themed podcast.
Oh, and you were supposed to eat some crisp or something.
Oh, yeah.
Something was supposed to happen.
Oh, that was our friend David Lowe wasn't able to join us this evening, but he is we will do a rerun of this one with David next time. He's funnily enough connected to the drinks industry that Jenna will be working with soon. We'll see what happens.
So the world is so small.
It's a very small world. Mobile eats the world, as they used to say.
Indeed.
Right then, thank you for joining this podcast. We went down many rabbit holes. This was the Tech Travel Geeks Gin podcast. You can follow Tech Travel Geeks on Twitter, Instagram, and more importantly, YouTube. That's Tech Travel Geeks. And for now, thank you for watching this crazy episode. We'll be editing it and publishing it on our RSS feed soon. There, I believe, weren't any profanities we need to edit out. So
I swore.
Great, we'll find it. Thank you for watching, everyone, and good night from us.